Hi, my name is Justina Ireland. This is Writing in the Margins. I'm here to talk to you today about the problems and pitfalls of the minority as plot device. What do I mean when I say minority? Well, minority is kind of just a generic term I like to use. It really means any marginalized voice that's used strictly to further the plot along. A lot of times this ties back to your stock characters and your tropes. The magical Negro, the gay best friend, the Latina best friend, those kinds of, very cookie cutter stereotype characters that you see, a lot in TV and in books. What is really the problem with the minority as plot device is it reinforces existing stereotypes, and it also reinforces a white heterosexual male version of the world. Now, you can take out any of those things, white, heterosexual, male, and maybe it's just heterosexual, female, and white, male, heterosexual, any of those things, and still have problems with minority as plot device. Anytime a stereotypical character is used to further reinforce what we see in society, that's a problem. Because what it does as a minority as plot device is it tells us that these people are the other and their stories are lesser. And that really is the crux of diversity. Realizing that everyone has a voice and everyone's story is equally important. So what are some examples of minorities as plot devices? The one that is probably most recognizable to folks because we see it so much is the magical Negro character. This is a character that exists solely to bestow knowledge and education and enrichment upon the white male character, usually able-bodied and heterosexual and male. Now, it could be a white female main character who's also heterosexual, or it could be a white character who's not a heterosexual. It really doesn't matter. The key here is that the main character is usually white. And it kind of harkens back to that dynamic we have, especially in America, where, black people are lesser because, they were enslaved for so long, and they exist solely to help white people. Black people are here to help. They don't have their own narratives. So this is really, number one, this is lazy writing. If you have a character who's in a story and they exist for no other purpose than to help your main character, it's lazy writing off the bat. You need to go back and develop your secondary characters. Second of all, what it does is it is really kind of a weak way to write your main character as well, right? So you have this secondary character who is basically helping your main character, and sometimes it's not just on their journey. If it's not a plot-driven narrative, if it's a character-driven narrative, sometimes the minority just exists to help the main character to learn something about themselves, a valuable lesson. So you have the kid who goes to school who has Down syndrome, who has no other reason to exist except to show this bully how to be not a bully or something like that. It's very weak writing. It's very silly. A better way to write the story is to give the kid with Down syndrome a story. Give them their own narrative. Give them something. Maybe they're not there to help the bully. Maybe they tell the bully to go pound sand because they're living their own life. And that's really what the minority as plot device does. It supersedes somebody else's life with that of the main character. Now, how do you get around that? Well, you give your secondary characters agency. And the way we do that is, if I am a person sitting in my house waiting for some white dude to show up so I can help him, I don't help him. I tell him I don't have time to help him because I have my own life to live. It's really a very systemic problem because it goes so much deeper than just saying, hey, these are minorities and they're here to help. It also puts a premium on whiteness and on able-bodiedness and on heterosexuality, depending on where your main character falls in those ranges. You could have the gay best friend as plot device and have a black female main character. It happens. It happens quite a bit, in fact. What you need to do is you need to get away from those stock characters and those stereotypes, and you need to write fully fleshed out secondary characters. And obviously there's a lot of stock characters we can talk about. We have a lot of ground to cover with this because this is really the most common way and the way you usually see people of color and people who are disabled or people who are not heterosexual, who, you know, identify different, who don't fit, you know, that gender binary portray. They're always there as kind of just the helper, the lesson to be learned for the main character. So we're gonna spend some time in the later videos talking about this, but basically I just want you to take from this that when you have a secondary character who is a marginalized voice, you need to give them agency. You need to make them fully fleshed out characters, because otherwise it's really easy to have them only there as a plot device. And hey, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But don't be surprised when someone calls you on it. And that's really all I have today. 5 minutes goes fast when you're talking diversity. Hey, check us out for later videos. Check out some of the other videos on the site, and I will see you later.